Hello, today we're going to be doing art inspired by Ashley Bryan. Ashley Bryan is an artist who's illustrated lots of children's books over the years. He's worked in different kinds of artistic styles and used different kinds of methods. Today we're going to be looking at paper cutting for our first project. If you go ahead and open your packet, you should be able to find a piece of light blue paper and a piece of darker blue paper. There's some scrap paper. And you should find 4 paper fish that go with the darker blue paper. And 3 bird cutouts that go with the lighter blue paper. For your projects, you will also want to have glue, scissors, a black pen or marker or crayon, and you may want to have a pencil and a paper punch. The first project we're going to be making is the fish that's done with paper cutting. It's based on the smaller fish that's in this illustration here. So, not the big one, the little one down in the corner. And this is from a book of poems called Sail Away, and it features poetry by Langston Hughes. So if you would like to make a fish that looks like the sample one, that's what I'm going to be giving instructions for. But if you get other ideas for other ways you would like to do your fish, you can go ahead and do that. There should be lots of ways that you're able to make it based with the materials that we've provided. So the first step is you're going to want to take the gray fish and the purple fish and stack them on top of each other so that they're perfectly matched. And the first cut you're going to make is cutting from the top fin to the bottom fin in a curved shape. So you'll be cutting to separate the head of the fish from the body of the fish. If it's easier for you to cut along a line, you can go ahead and draw a line with a pencil so that you can follow it. And then when you're done cutting, you'll have 2 heads and 2 bodies. And what you're going to want to do is take the head and the body and fit them together like puzzle pieces. And once you've done that, you can go ahead and glue that to the paper. So you'll have your fish with a purple body and a gray head glued to the paper. Right, and once you have your fish glued to the paper, you're going to want to take the red fish and you're going to cut off its fins. And you can take the fins that you've cut off and put them directly on top of the purple fins. And it'll look something like that. And then the next step is to take either the yellow fish or some of the yellow scrap paper and cut out a few shapes from that. On this one, I cut out a yellow fin and some stripes and little decorative markings in yellow, so you can go ahead and do that. So now your fish has a fin and it has some decorative markings. The last step is to make the eye. So if you look at the sample, the eye is kind of a bullseye shape. You can see there's a big circle on the bottom, a medium-sized one in the middle, and a small circle on the top. So we'll start with a large red circle for the bottom. If you would like to trace around something to help you get the circle shape, you can use your glue stick, either tracing around the cap or tracing around the bottom, or you might try using a penny or a dime. I think either one of them is probably pretty close to the size that you want. And once you have your first circle, you can go ahead and glue that onto the fish. And then cut a slightly smaller circle out of yellow paper for the medium layer. Alright. So here's a medium-sized circle for the middle layer. If you have a hole punch handy, you might like to use that for the smallest circle. Otherwise, you could just cut it out. All right, and at that point you'll have a fish that looks about like the sample. Of course, you can also keep going if you would like to add some more details to your picture. You can try using the scrap paper to cut some more fish, some seaweed, some other things that live in the ocean. If you look at the original illustration, the big fish is snapping at some bait on a hook, because that's mentioned in the poem. That's something you can make too. For the second project, we're going to do a picture featuring birds, and that's inspired by the book Beautiful Blackbird. So in the book Beautiful Blackbird, all the birds start out solid colored. And they ask Blackbird to share some of his color with them, and you can see that they all have different kinds of markings. There's spots and stripes and other kinds of patterns. So for this project, you want your glue stick again, and you'll want a marker, a pen, a black crayon, something like that that you can use to make the markings on your solid color birds. The birds you have in your kit might be a little different from the ones I have here. I picked 3 colors and 2 shapes, so there will be a little variety between the different kits. You can move your birds around on the paper and decide what kind of position looks best. If you turn the birds over, you can have them facing either to the left or to the right. You'll notice that some of the birds already have feet as part of their shape, and some of the birds do not have feet, so you can draw them in. Here's an example of how I drew feet on for 2 of the birds. Or if you move your bird to the bottom of the page, maybe it can be resting on the ground so that its feet are hidden, or it might be sitting somewhere, like sitting in a nest, so that you don't see its feet. And then once you decide that you like the way that the birds are laid out on the page, you can go ahead and start gluing them to the paper. I think I've lost one of my paper cutouts, so this one's just going to have 2 birds. Once the birds are glued to the paper, you can start thinking about how you would like to decorate them. If you need some ideas, you might try looking at some real birds. So either looking out the window or going on a nature walk to look at birds in person, or you could look at a bird watching guidebook or pull up some pictures on the internet and see what kinds of patterns and markings birds have in real life. You can also use your imagination if you like the look of some particular kind of pattern. You can try that for your bird. Alright, I found the other cutout. I'm going to go ahead and paste it in place. And try making some markings that look good to you. I'm also going to add some feet on mine. So here's just one idea of how you could do it. I added some feathers to the top of one bird's head. I added feet. I added a checkerboard, zigzags, and stripes. You could also try doing spots or dots, all sorts of things. One other thing that you might try doing, if you look carefully at the pictures in the book, you'll see that the birds have different colored eyes. So if you'd like to incorporate that into your picture, you might take crayons or markers and draw on eyes that are different colors, or you might take a hole punch and punch out some different colored dots from the scrap paper that you have and glue those on as different eyes, depending on what you like the looks of. And I hope you enjoyed making some art today.